The Affordable Care Act has been a lifeline for millions of Americans, protecting people with pre-existing conditions, protecting women's health, and the pandemic has demonstrated how badly it's needed. Let's lower deductibles for working families on the Affordable Care Act. And let's lower prescription drug costs. We know how to do this. The last president had that as an objective. We all know how outrageously expensive drugs are in America. In fact, we pay the highest prescription drug prices of anywhere in the world, right here in America. Nearly
10 of the most expensive drugs in the US. Who can afford these medications?
We found that you could spend $800 more a year on a common heart medication if you went to the wrong store. And that's not the only example of how drug prices can vary within your own city.
Prescription drugs are one of the most important, if not the most important part of a patient's healthcare regimen.
Hi, it's State Representative Kelly Morrison, and I'm excited to share that the Prescription Drug Price Transparency Act was signed into law by Governor Walz after passing both the House and Senate with strong bipartisan support. I chief authored this bill because as a physician, I know firsthand how the skyrocketing price of prescription drugs is making it difficult for people to access the medicine they need to survive and thrive. Prescription drugs don't work if people can't afford them. This new law will provide the public with important information to help us better understand why the price of prescription drugs have been increasing so precipitously. This issue impacts all of us, and there will now be more transparency about the process. This is an important first step toward making prescription drugs affordable for everyone.
But drugs are expensive and costs just seem to be rising. Medication can ease a simple headache, as with an affordable and generically available pain reliever like Tylenol.
And the leaders of this country need to quit putting their toe in this topic and really fix this. We have an outdated, inefficient system.
A drug may be life-saving, say one of the novel biologic immunotherapy checkpoint inhibitors like Keytruda that can target potentially deadly melanoma, skin cancer, and other malignancies.
If you look at drugs like Sovaldi, for instance, Daraprim is less expensive than Sovaldi, despite the fact that it treats a disease that's far more severe and far less common. So if you think about free markets and fair price, it's pretty clear that Daraprim was not priced appropriately.
Either way, a patient should be able to afford or have coverage for the treatments they need to stay alive. But unfortunately, you probably found yourself in a situation where the cost of treatment is just too high. Are your annual medical deductibles so out of reach that it requires you to borrow money to pay off your bills? Do the bills from your doctor pile up on your table as you try to figure out how to pay them? Did you skip filing that prescription last month because you needed to buy groceries for your family instead? If so, you're not alone.
But they're kind of sitting back and saying, does this make sense? Is it a good idea to put a patient on a drug that, maybe is a long shot? It may give them, a couple of weeks of extra life and at a very high cost and side effects as well, high cost in terms of toxicity.
But why are drugs so expensive, you may ask? How much you pay for your medication is dependent upon many factors, such as whether or not you have insurance coverage for the drugs, if a drug is paid on health insurance formula, are there any rebates or discounts from your manufacturer? Does your prescription have deductibles or copays? If it's a specialty drug, gene therapy, or biologic drug, because those are considered some of the highest priced drugs today, if you're eligible to receive any financial assistance from either the government, discount coupons, or free samples from your doctor, if the price set by the manufacturer and their interaction with the pharmacy benefits managers, and of course, the generic or biosimilar availability, because the complicated manufacturing processes involved in some of the most advanced therapies today play a part in high costs.
Intense scrutiny over prescription drug pricing has led many to question why prices in the US are so different from other countries.
But some expensive drugs are just repurposed generics too. How a drug's price is determined is complicated, and for most of us remains a true mystery. There is a lack of transparency in how drugs are priced by the pharmaceutical companies. The true cost of any drug may be hard to determine until you are at a pharmacy or get a bill from your insurance.
You know, this is a capitalist society, capitalist system, and capitalist rules. And my investors expect me to maximize profits, not to minimize them or go half or go 70%, but to go to 100%.
Well, next up is a list of the top 10 most expensive drugs in the world, not arranged in any specific order.
There's no excuse from going from $13.50 to $750 for one pill.
He looks like a spoiled brat to me.
Our people pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs.
Number 1, Zolensma. So, what is the world's most expensive single-dose drug? It's Zolensma, generic name onesmogene, to treat pediatric spinal muscular atrophy. Zolensma's total cost is $2.125 million, according to Novartis, the manufacturer. It's considered the world's most expensive single-dose drug, but over a lifetime, Biogen's SMA drug, Spinraza, actually costs much more. Spinraza can cost $4 million over a period of 10 years, as it is not given as a one-time drug. Spinal muscular atrophy is a rare genetic motor neuron disease that results in problems with breathing, holding up your head, and swallowing. The majority of children with SMA do not survive past early childhood due to an inability to breathe. Zolensma is given as a one-time intravenous dose. It works by replacing the defective or missing survival motor neuron 1 gene and is considered potentially curative. Novartis allows insurers to pay for this drug in installments to make it easier to afford, but some insurers may not pay for it. You can check with your doctor and Novartis Gene Therapies to learn more about the cost assistance.
The drug companies tend to spend more on advertising than they do on research. So we have to ask ourselves if this money that we're investing is an efficient way of purchasing research and development, or whether we might be able to do better.
Number 2, Danyelza. In November 2020, the FDA approved Danyelza 40 milligrams per 10 milliliters used in combination with granulocyte macrophage colony stimulating factor for the treatment of patients 1 year of age and older with relapsed or refractory high-risk neuroblastoma in the bone or bone marrow. This medicine is given as an infusion into the vein by the healthcare provider. Neuroblastoma is a solid tumor that occurs in the nervous system outside of the brain in children. Some tumors can be treated, but the majority are aggressive. The cost of one vial of Danyelza intravenous solution is around $22,018. Over 1 year, the cost of this drug could range between $1.5 million to $2 million, although most patients would not take it for this long. Treatment may be stopped due to the disease's progression or intolerable side effects. In one study, only 8% of patients continued for longer than 1 year. Your doctor will decide on how long to treat you with this medicine. When used in combination with granulocyte macrophage colony stimulating factor, that adds to the cost of therapy.
We're going to have to get a lot more serious about making use of public policy tools to fight back if we expect those prices to come down.
Number 3, Zokinvy. Approved in November 2020, Zokinvy is used for the treatment of Hutchinson-Gilford progeria syndrome and processing deficient progeroid laminopathies. Zokinvy is indicated in adult and pediatric patients 12 months of age and older, with body surface area of 0.39 meters squared and above.
Medical Association has data that is more compelling than many trials that have come across my desk. The disease is Hutchinson-Gilford progeria, an ultra-rare condition occurring in just 1 in 4 million births and characterized by premature aging. The natural history of progeria is death, usually due to cardiac causes in the early to mid-teen years. Until recently, there have been no known therapies. Enter lonafarnib, an obscure little farnesyltransferase inhibitor that has seen some use in hepatitis delta virus infection and is being investigated for its anti-cancer properties. Now, the primary gene defect in progeria is in lamin A. Lamin A normally gets farnesylated, but the farnesyl part of the protein is subsequently cleaved. In progeria, that cleavage site is rendered inactive, leading to retention of the farnesyl group and accumulation of the altered protein, which leads to the progeria phenotype. Researchers, led by Leslie Gordon, wondered whether inhibiting farnesylation in the first place would make a difference. Lonafarnib does just that.
Progeria and progeroid laminopathies are very rare genetic premature aging diseases that accelerate death in young patients. Untreated children with progeria die of heart disease at an average age of 14.5 years of age. Roughly 20 children and young adults are known to have the disease in the US. The cost of Zokinvy is about $22,500 for 30 of the 50 milligram capsules and $33,600 for 30 of the 75 milligram capsules. Dosing is based on body surface area, but as an example, in a patient taking 4 50 milligram capsules per day, the cost could roughly sum up to $1.08 million per year.
The first trial of lonafarnib led to promising results. Kids treated with the drug had improved weight gain and less skeletal rigidity, but only now was there enough data collected to look at a hard outcome: all-cause mortality. The researchers compared 63 patients treated with lonafarnib to 63 patients who were not treated with the drug. Again, this wasn't randomized. I think there's a good argument here that randomization would actually be unethical. That said, the researchers matched treated and untreated patients on a variety of factors to minimize bias, and the results were dramatic. The survival curves show what the raw numbers tell us. Among the treated patients, just 4 died over the 2 years of study, compared to 17 deaths in the untreated group. These results are unheard of in this disease. Results this strong are rarely seen in most diseases, actually. Now, most of these kids started taking the medication at around 9 or 10 years of age, and it didn't seem to have much effect on their physical appearance, but one wonders if earlier treatment would lead to even more dramatic results. This is a story that is inspiring on many levels. There's obviously the potential to transform the lives of a group of very special children, but it's also exemplary of the scientific method gone right, where rigorous basic science and the smart application of an existing drug combine to produce outcomes that are genuine breakthroughs.
Number 4, Follotin. Follotin, FDA approved in 2009 from Allos Therapeutics, is used as a last-chance cancer medication for patients with relapsed or refractory peripheral T-cell lymphoma, an aggressive form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. PTLC is relatively a rare disease, occurring in less than 9,500 patients each year in the US. Follotin is classified as a cytotoxic antimetabolite cancer agent, and it's given by intravenous injection. It is given as the disease progresses or there is unacceptable side effects. Follotin dosing is based on body surface area and is given in cycles, so costs can vary. But an average annual cost can run close to $900,000. However, in studies, the median time that patients stayed in treatment was 70 days, with a range between 1 day and 1.5 years. Number 5, Actiimmune. Actiimmune from Horizon also falls in a very expensive group of genetic disease treatments. Actiimmune is indicated to 1. Treat severe life-threatening osteoporosis, which is the formation of abnormally dense bone, as opposed to osteoporosis, which is brittle bone, and 2. To lower the occurrence of serious infections due to the chronic granulomatous disease. Actiimmune is given as a subcutaneous injection 3 times per week. The sticker shock per patient can be a palpable over $819,000 per year for patients using the 50 microgram per meter squared dose. Number 6, Brineura. In April 2017, the FDA approved Brineura from Biomarin Pharmaceuticals for a specific form of Batten disease. Late infantile neuronal ceroid lipofuscinosis type 2 disease, a form of Batten disease, is a rare inherited disorder that primarily affects the nervous system. It's devastating, and patients often require the use of a wheelchair by late childhood. These children typically do not survive past their teens. Batten disease typically begins in early childhood between the ages of 2 and 4, with symptoms such as language delay, seizures, and difficulty coordinating movements. Brineura is an enzyme replacement therapy for triptyltydyl peptidase. It's the first FDA-approved treatment to slow the decline of walking disability in symptomatic children 3 years of age and older with CLN2. Brineura runs close to $763,000 per year, based on a price of $29,335 per kit. The recommended dose of Brineura in pediatric patients 3 years of age and older is 300 milligrams administered once every other week by intraventricular infusion through a special port. An orphan drug for this rare disease, Bineuro joins others in the long list of drugs approaching $1 million per year of treatment. Orphan drugs are intended for the safe and effective treatment, diagnosis, or prevention of rare diseases and disorders that affect fewer than 200,000 people in the US. Biomarine copay assistance programs are available for Bineuro for eligible patients. Number 7. Solarisis. Solarisis from Alexion Pharmaceuticals is a specialty drug FDA approved to 1. Treat a rare chronic blood disease called atypical hemolytic uremic syndrome. 2. To prevent the breakdown of red blood cells in people with paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria. 3. To treat myasthenia gravis in adults. 4. To treat neuromyelitis optica spectrum disorder in adults. It is a monoclonal antibody only available through the Solarisis REMS program and falls within treatments of genetic diseases, one of the most costly groups of diseases to treat. Solarisis used to be considered the most expensive drug in the world, but there are now others to exceed it. It is supplied as one 300 mg per 30 milliliters single-dose vial that costs about $6,820 per vial. Its yearly price tag can range from $566,000 to $764,000 per patient per year, depending upon the condition being treated and body weight. Number 8. Ravicti. Urea cycle disorder definitely classifies as an orphan disease as it only affects about 2,100 people in the US. Ravicti from Horizon Pharma is a treatment approved to prevent the buildup of toxic ammonia in the blood in children from birth and older. Ammonia in the blood and tissues can lead to permanent brain damage, coma, or death. The cost of Ravicti oral liquid 1.1 gram per milliliter is around $5,514 for a supply of 25 milliliters. Ravicti is usually taken 3 times per day. The price tag for Ravicti, given as a liquid taken by mouth, averages about $700,000 per year of treatment. However, this costs will vary based on the specific dose. If you switch from sodium phenylbutyrate to Ravicti, your dose will not be the same. Follow your doctor's dosing instructions very carefully. Number 9. Lumizyme. Lumizyme from Genzyme is a lysosomal glycinogen-specific enzyme used to treat Pompe disease. In this disease, excess glycogen causes worsening muscle weakness, myopathy, and can affect the heart, skeletal muscles, liver, and nervous system. This specific enzyme is needed to break down glycogen, a stored form of sugar used for energy. Lumizyme replaces this enzyme and was approved for the Pompe disease indication in 2014. While this drug may seem like a bargain at about $905 per vial, each patient on average would need about 56 vials per month for a 70 kg person. Based on this, Lumizyme could have a price tag running at about $51,000 per month or close to $612,000 per year. Number 10. Luxturna. Luxturna is developed by Spark Therapeutics. Despite costing $850,000, it is potentially cheaper than drugs that have come before it, due to the fact that it's a one-time treatment injected into the eye by a surgeon. The therapy is used to treat both adults and children with loss of vision due to retinal dystrophy, a condition that could ultimately result in blindness.
As we've reflected over the course of the last couple of months, we've done a fair amount of work to establish what we think is the value of Luxturna, and we think that the value of Luxturna is in excess of $1 million. We've tried to balance the concerns about accessibility that patients, families, and healthcare professionals have voiced, the concerns about budget impact that we've heard from payers, as well as the need for us to build and create a path for a sustainable business model.
A gene therapy treatment is finally here.
Luxturna is the first targeted gene therapy for any disease known to humankind. And we're so excited that it is treating one of the forms for the Leber's amaurosa congenita and also retinitis pigmentosa. So it targets the RPE65 gene, which is an inherited blinding eye disease, a retinal disease, and that affects primarily night vision.
Those were some hard names, but in conclusion, Research and clinical trials sometimes last for decades before the drug reaches its patients, and many substances simply don't make it. Adverse side effects or economic reasons can put an end to the whole research process overnight. When the number of patients affected by a condition is globally measured in the thousands or even only hundreds, the economic burden of research reflects on the treatment price. It reaches astronomical numbers. This video has only covered 10 most expensive drugs at the time. There are advancements in technology that might see the world introducing more expensive drugs in the near future. Needless to say, the medical community is furious. Two professional societies, the Infectious Diseases Society of America and the HIV Medicine Association, calling the hiking of drug prices cynical opportunism and opportunistic greed in its most indefensible form.
Many expect the scrutiny of drug pricing to continue.